Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I am your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and I'm the host of Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. And today is my spoiler review for Season 2 of Star Wars Andor, which is now available. Episode 1 through 3 is available right now, as I should say, on the Disney Plus. And again, throughout this whole series, I will be doing spoiler reviews on this. So again, if you have not seen Episode 1, go back and watch that, and then come back and check out this spoiler review. And I definitely want to know what you guys think about each episode, and what do you think about where Star Wars is going with this, of course, and what's your Star Wars theories, of course. Comment below. And again, this is a spoiler review. Now, y'all been warned. Now, let's get into it. Episode 1 starts off with an inspection of a pilot who represents the Empire, inspecting the fight and seeing if it's good, making sure, as we thought. But we find out this person gives Cassin the password because he's pretending to be a test pilot, or becoming one, I should say. And then, but all along we know that he wants to take down the Empire with the rest of the rebellions who are ready to expose them to the whole galaxy, all over, the galaxy, basically. And obviously, he steals one of them ships as he struggles trying to fly this. And, I really like the comedy in this as he was trying to drive this. And we see the stormtroopers, they're like regular guards, regular police type. This is their everyday job. They get days off. They get lunch breaks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just funny like that. So to see Cassin try to steer this, but he gets a good shots in with the blast as the stormtroopers are shooting at him, of course. But he gets them all, even the one that is I forgot which stormtrooper it is, but it's a stormtrooper. If you remember the old Star Wars, this is a stormtrooper that hangs out on a planet that's very cold. So this particular stormtrooper had a type of suit with some fur, like a coat type. And he tried to hit that ship that Cassin was stealing with the bazooka, but obviously, Cassin got lucky. And this ship, it kept turning on and off, but he manages to escape, and he goes to this planet where he ends up getting captured. And, these people, look, we find out later on in this episode that they've been kind of abandoned or stranded or whatever for a few days and stuff. And, Cassin does find out that they've been kind of starving, haven't had food for a while. But also in this episode, we see this woman named Mon Matha. And obviously she is getting married, but she works for the Empire. And throughout this like party gathering event of a wedding type, we see these young girls who, live in that traditional life where, the parents pick who they marry for business purpose. And then this is the type where, the Empire is involved. Some of these men and women do work for them, but also some of these men and women are spies who are also on the team of the rebellion. And they're waiting for Cassin, even Luthen, who is waiting for the single to get the message that, hey, I got the ship, I'm here. But in this episode, obviously, Cassin gets captured by these group of people who are stranded, and they don't know what's really going on. And there's no leadership. So throughout that, we get like another like comedy silliness to it, where they're arguing like, don't kill this guy, we gotta make him teach her to fly this ship and stuff, and one doesn't want to do that. One wants to just get rid of them, and it's a little bit bitter. But then that's when that silliness turns into a real serious thing, as at this end of this episode, they start doing a shootout. And the whole thing is, too, we also learn that there's one thing about this council, and this council, is led by this guy. I forget his name. I apologize, but he's the director of the Empire, and he's underneath Darth Vader, or Lord Vader as they call him, and he's scheming this plan to run this business with Gordons, which these are spiders, and they don't care about the spiders. It's about what's in their layers, and they have these type of minerals, right? And the webbing that they use that can probably turn into use for armor, clothing, and they can make a profit off of this. So the Empire basically wants to run something and run a business and be the only one to have the resource, the supplies, and the minerals to do this. So they'll be making money, and they can sell it to whoever they want and dictate how it's gonna be used. And that's the whole plan of this. Now, this is why when they had these meetings with the senior councils, that they're going to decide what's the best way to destroy these planets and eliminate the people who will rebel against them, and also how to plan to take everything but make it look like they had nothing to do with it. So they got to look innocent. Their hands got to be clean, but they got to get this. And now this, to me, I get the sense this is not, I apologize, an order from Darth Vader, but maybe from Palpatine himself, because he's kind of like the head honcho. Between this General Darth Vader and Palpatine, Palpatine's above both of them, but obviously there's somebody else who's above him, because the Sith Lord is deep, and there's always, they never have gotten to in shows where there's like the main one, the first ever Sith Lord. They never really had him like in a live action or source, but this is just a small bit of it. And obviously in this timeline, this is before the movie Star Wars Rogue One, and we kind of know how this all really ends. And we know if you're a Star Wars fan, you're listening to this, you know how this whole thing ends. But it's really interesting to see that this is in the way of the beginning of how the famous Star Wars story began, in a way. Like, well, not really began, but this is the story of like people who are not Jedis basically getting tired of the Empire, and they're going to take it in their own hands. This is the people who don't care about the Force. They don't care about the lightsabers. They don't care about that. They care about their freedom, where they live, and they just want to raise their family normally and not be dictated, right? And that's the whole point of this. Like, the Jedis had and has rules. The Sith Lords, they have rules. The Empire, they have the rules, which is pretty much the Sith Lords type rules. And so there's always, they don't like the way of living. And since these Disney Plus series from Star Wars, we know that a lot of people just don't care about the Jedis. And to some people, Jedis are just a myth. They're stories, right? Like Skeleton Crew. They all thought this was all a myth. They weren't real. Jedis weren't real. Which Jedis are real, obviously. but they didn't know it. So this whole thing is much deeper, but Andor is pretty much what takes us to, the classic Star Wars movies with your Luke Skywalker, your Princess Leia, your Darth Vader, and this is the point where now in timeline, like, this is the beginning of the planning, the inspiration, how many people they get on board with this job, this mission, this goal. And to see that, it's interesting too. And I get this a lot from the councils. Like, they are so comfortable. Not all of them, but there's just some that just live so comfortable. And look how they eat. Look how they just have little snacks and drinks, right? They're eating good. They're living good. Their pockets are good, but they're too comfortable, and they're getting very, political in it, right? In this Star Wars universe. And so now we see like these group of people who see that as the weakness to get to them and destroy the Empire, and they want to expose them and take everything away because they have taken so much away from other planets and made them poor. And so this is a big deal and a big mission. And to see that they're playing spy and nobody pays attention or understanding in the Empire is very odd, but it makes sense because, these people think everything's in place. And obviously this is really no concern to Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's whole MO is, he wants to prove to Obi-Wan Kenobi that he's just better Jedi, he's a better master, he's just better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Vader just has a different passion of what he's trying to do with this and how things should be run, and he's just Darth Vader, right? This is what Anakin Skywalker has become. So it's not like Vader's paying attention, but when he gets word of what's going on, he'll handle it. But this is more about Palpatine running the galaxy, being the ruler, right? And this is what this story of Andor is really about. This is the politician side. This is where the innocent people, the people, want to stand up against the rich, the government, of this empire. And that's what we're getting at. And it's really cool that we see one side. This is like another side of Star Wars. We haven't really, you can read about, but we never seen in live action again. But they're starting to use these materials of it from Star Wars books and comics. And this, to me, right here again, is a really good told episode about where they're at and how scared they are. And everybody's life is on the line because they have, they don't have an army. They don't have weapons. They don't have real good ships like the Empire does. They got it all, right? They got the stormtroopers. They got pilots who can just fly better than them, shoot better than them, And I guess, and they got Sith Lords if it had to come down to it, like, and this is at this time, the Jedi has fallen, but they're coming back in a different way, and it's just a group of people. Of course, this is leading up to, again, what we know as the classic Star Wars, the first 3 Star Wars movies that they made back in the 80s, right? So this was it leads up to. And I also like how in each episode, or not this episode, each scene, I should say, I like, again, they did this in season 1, but they come up with the story, okay, we were doing this, we were eating this, it was this time, we were doing this and that, and everybody does this. And I really like that. I always like that about Andor. It's like how they just, while they're having this conversation, they're already coming up with a way to cover their tracks, cover up their story, and stay on the same page just in case, you know, they get captured or pulled aside or asked like, "Hey, what was you guys doing?" Like we see Casson and this woman who was inspecting the ship in the beginning, right? And she came up with the thing. We were flirting, we were talking. It was late night. You were just telling me how much you're nervous, and then one of her friends showed up, and it just showed like where everybody was at with it. And I think that is the best part of what we're getting in that way. So, and I like that. I really like that. Like, so everything's such a secret, and we don't know what's the truth. We don't know what's really going on. You know, we can't. Well, we can, but the people have been, you know, putting reports, false reports in. So we never know what's the truth, but mostly the people who are in the empire never know what's really going on as they think they know what's going on because of false reports like this. And it's a very interesting tactic, and I really enjoy this. Like, you know, everybody in the empire has something they want to gain. They have a hidden agenda, and you know, you can never trust nobody in this. So that's what I really like about this. And this episode really laid out how season 2 is going to be. And I think this is really fun because there wasn't a lot of action, but it was very intense, you know, because there's times throughout this episode, there are scenes where you would see two people have a conversation and it looked like somebody's spying. You know, somebody's trying to put their ear against the wall, or maybe there's like hidden camera or microphones or cameras, right, that are spying on people that can hear the conversations. So you never really know who's listening and what's told and what's not. And even like people who are like real close to what's really going on with the main goal, with the main mission of what the Empire wants to do, and they're keeping things up. But like you see conversations where, you know, they start off and saying, "Hey, you know, me and my wife are getting a divorce. You know, we don't live together," and then they talk about the thing they really want to talk about, because now people who are around them see him talking will think, oh, they're talking about some personal stuff, you know, outside of work, right? And that's really cool. So you got to really pay attention about who's really listening and who are they trying to trust in this. So that's what I really like about it. But it's like this is Star Wars. Andor to me is like, obviously, there's a lot of spying. So this is more about people who are really good at being spies, right? You know, this is their version of a Mission Impossible. This is like their version of a James Bond. You know, it's something like that, right? And there's just a lot of like whisperings and a lot of detecting. Like they're all detectives in their own way, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then you got people who are like on other planets waiting for the next step, the next move. Like they're all waiting to do their part of whatever it is. So everybody's doing this in far distance, but you know, it is nuts, but it's very interesting what's going on with this. And I loved it. Out of this episode, I'm going to give it 1 out of 10. I'm going to definitely give it a 7. It was really good, kind of slow. And obviously, I can tell this is going to be more dialogue. And so, why I give it a 7 is, there was times this episode, I was listening word to word, but then there was this time where, you know, I just started losing concentration, you know, and I was losing interest because there's just some dialogues that were just kind of too dry, a little bit boring, right? And so it's not the best, but I understand the plot and I understand what season 2 is going to be about. And not because this is the last season of this series and then it's done, because this leads up to the movie Star Wars Rogue One. No, it's not because of that. It's more of just like, I felt like there were some scenes where there's like too detailed. Like, yes, we get the point. Like, this is why you want to get like this, or why this needs to happen. And, they're kind of adding like love stories within this. But I always feel like less love stories and a little bit more of what's the core of Star Wars is as a whole, universal, as a universe, as a galaxy far, far away is really about, But again, I get it, and I'm not going to complain about that either. But that's why I'm kind of giving it, because again, the main thing is there's times where I lost focus to it just because it got a little bit of dry. So I'm hoping that, what I think is, honestly, actually, I'll say it like this, because I'm gonna review these episodes individually, but if you watch as I'm recording, there's only 3 episodes, right? If you watch episodes 1 through 3, it all makes sense. But if you combine all these episodes and it has all this dryness of dialogue, it makes it hard to want to finish the whole episode. You may want to take a pause. You may be on your phone, something like that. So I hope they kind of improve it. But again, I know it all makes sense if you watch it all 3 in one shot, back to back. So that's what I'm saying. It's good if you can. I think creatively, again, I'll make this one more time. Creatively, if you watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 in one shot, it all makes sense. It's really good. That would put it up to 1 out of 10. I'd give it a 10, because that's really good. Like, here's what's going on. Episode 2, just jump right in. Yeah, that'd be a 10 out of 10, a banger on banger. But individually, as one episode, I gotta give it a 7. Wasn't great, but it was good. It was really good, and I still enjoyed it for what it is. So that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace